in for the dream start.
Welcome to another episode. My name is Dean Vass. You can find me on X at #Kangas, Instagram #Kangaroos podcast. Today, I should say, already started this pretty well. Today, I am doing a solo podcast. Just going back through my preseason predictions, the wins and losses. I went through each game individually and did my predictions there. They're actually quite close. So I'll go through them. Defensive Player of the Year, and I'll also go through statistical categories for each player relevant to their position from 2024 and compare it to 2025 and see. It just shows you which players that probably have improved this year. I'll also go through statistics for the team this year as well. So I'll go through that, where we'll rank as far as disposals, points for, points against, and just go through that. And maybe areas that we should be focusing on as far as recruiting players. So, yeah, I'll do all that. So probably, 30, 40-minute podcast today. And I am live on YouTube and also a day off work. So that's why I am doing it in the afternoon. So let's get straight into it. So I'm going to go through statistical categories and go through each player on the list and how they went this year. So I'm going to start with Harry Sheezel. So in 2024, I went through goals, tackles inside 50, possessions per game, and goal assists. So 14.1 goals, and so 14 goals, one behind in 2024. 0.3 tackles inside 50, 29.8 possessions per game, and 0.9 goal assists per game in 2024. So 2025, he kicked 8 goals, 12 behind. So it was very inaccurate in front of goal this year. Unusual for such a talented player like himself. 0.5 tackles inside 50 per game. So that went up a little bit this year, hence playing a little bit of half forward as well. 29.3 possessions per game. Obviously, that was inflated in the last couple of rounds where I think he got 54 and 40 or something like that in his last 2 rounds, something ridiculous. So those possessions per game were almost as much as 2024 and only 0.3 goal assists per game as opposed to 0.9 goal assists per game 2024. So he did regress a little bit this year, but finished the year off quite strong and is going to be playing a lot of midfield minutes next year. So did he improve? No. Just unless you count the last 2 games, then he probably did. Aidan Corr. So I went through intercepts, 1%ers, disposal efficiency, and rebound 50s. And in 2024, he averaged 4.8 intercepts per game, 6.3 1%ers, 84.8 disposal efficiency, 3.2 rebound 50s per game. So this year, 4.3 intercepts per game, down, 4.6 1%ers, down from 6.3, 80.3 disposal efficiency percentage, down from 84.8, and 3.6 rebound 50s, which was a little bit up from 3.2. So definitely regressed this year. Got dropped there for a period of time during the middle of the year. I think him and Griffin Lowe got dropped in the same game and had a few injuries as well. So that regressed him. And unfortunately, the round 24 game against Adelaide Crows, he couldn't reinvent himself as a full forward. Who would have thought, eh? We'll move forward. Caleb Daniels, so he did improve from his Bulldogs days, and that was being in and out of the team. So 25.6 possessions per game this year as opposed to 14 at the Bulldogs, 0.8 1%ers, 0.9 at the Bulldogs, 1.8 intercepts per game at the Bulldogs in 2024, 4 intercepts per game in 2025. Found his position, 1.2 rebound 50s per game in 2024 at 5.6 this year. So he did improve from his Bulldogs days, but the jury still is out on him, that's for sure, being an undersized defender. And I know David King was very critical of some of his games this year about not being very accountable. George Wardlaw, so 19.1 disposals per game in 2024. That was down this year, only 15.5, 4.3 tackles per game. That went up a little bit this year, so he averaged a 5.4 tackles per game, 4.8 clearances per game in 2024, only 3.1 this year, and 4.3 score involvements per game in 2024, 3.5 this year. So definitely a player that regressed a little bit this year, had a couple of concussion issues. That's still a concern. That's a massive concern for his future. But he did finish off the last 3-4 games without any concerns there. But I still worry about the way he plays and the way he tackles. He goes in head first. So he is prone to that. But hopefully it's something he can really work on, especially technique with tackling and put your head over the ball. Something he can work on in the preseason, and hopefully those issues are behind him. So Zane Duursma, obviously a lot of talk about him, and I'll talk a little bit about him a little bit later as well. 7.5 disposals per game, 9 goals, 2 goal assists for the year in 2024, and 0.4 tackles inside 50 per game in 2024. 2025, 6.8 disposals per game, so that was even down. Only 4 goals this year as well. 0.3 goal assists per game, and the average. So I think he only got 1 goal assist for the year, and tackles inside 50.1. So a player that went backwards this year, hence probably a little bit of frustration for himself. And, I know Elsa Clarkson and the club are very keen to keep him in the off-season, but I think he's going to be starved for opportunities again next year. I've got no doubt he's going to have a full preseason, and they're going to play him early. But if things don't go well early, then he'll be out of the team, or they'll try and find a new role for him, like they did this year, up on the wing, halfback. That's not his best position. I still don't understand for the life of me, last round of the year, why either him or Matt Whitlock didn't play full forward instead of Aidan Corr. Give these kids an opportunity to prove themselves. Elsa Clarkson, a month before the season finished, talked up Zane Duursma and saying he's got Jack Gunston's skills. Well, if he's got similar comparisons to Jack Gunston, then playing like Jack Gunston in the last round, you may have found something. He might have kicked 3 goals and realised, all right, we've got a player here. So, unfortunately, we didn't do it. That's that. All right, a big regression candidate next is Bailey Scott. So, in 2024, he averaged 20.3 disposals per game, 439 metres gained per game, 5.1 turnovers per game, 3.2 score involvements per game. Obviously, turnovers is a big issue. This year, his possessions pretty much half, 10.5 per game, 215 metres per game. So, obviously, if the possessions are half, that means the metres gained are going to half. 1.8 turnovers per game still. Obviously, that's down from 5.1, but he's getting a lot less possessions. And scoring involvements were down 2.4. I don't remember a player sliding off a cliff as bad as this in 1 year. So I'm not too sure where he's at. He's got another year left on his contract. It's going to be interesting. I'm going to probably do another podcast next couple of weeks, going through players that are out of contract in 2026 and probably have to at least be 20 next year who are on the verge of being at the crossroads, really. And it's a really important year for a lot of these players, for the football club and the direction of the football club. If these players, some of these players are out of contract at the end of 2026, don't improve, and we have to let a majority of them go, then there's going to be a lot of questions about coaching, how we develop players, and recruiting. So there's a lot of questions about that already. But that's only going to increase a lot over the next 6 to 12 months. Very important 2026 coming up. LDU, so 27.7 disposals per game in 2024, 6.3 clearances, 3.9 tackles per game, 5.1 score involvement. So the best and fairest winner that year. This year, his possessions per game went down a little bit, 24.7. Clearances were similar, 6.1, a little bit down from 6.3. Tackles per game went up to 4.1 from 3.9, and scoring bonus went up as well, 5.6 from 5.1. And that's what we want to see, because he is prone to not so much the turnover, but making the wrong decision. So we definitely want to see him in chains where he gets a disposal, score involvements up. We'd like to see it to 6 or 7 next year, and even spending a little bit more time forward as well in that 450. I think he could be a damaging player in that 450. But a little bit of a down year for LDU. Colin McKercher. So he started the year off, obviously, everybody remembers, on the half forward wing, for periods and probably really struggled. He probably should have been out of the team after round 4 or 5, but they kept persisting with him. And second half of the year, he really found his groove in that back 50 playing as a rebound defender. So last year, he averaged 23.8 disposals per game in his rookie year, 414 metres gained per game. 1.8 tackles per game, 2.9 scoring involvements per game. So this year, his disposal was similar. So he obviously picked it up the last few weeks, 23.1 disposals per game. And I think in 2024, he subbed himself out early in the game. I remember which bring his disposals per game down a little bit. I don't think he even had a touch. I can't remember anyway. I might have had one or two. 387 metres gained per game, so a little bit down. 1.7 tackles per game. He did get 10, I think, in one game against Richmond earlier in the year. That highly stoppage game, and 4.4 score involvements per game. Kicked a few goals from halfback flank. I really like him in that position for next year as well. I know a lot of people, and Jesse himself has even mentioned on the pod that he would like to see him push into midfield, but I really like him playing as that rebound defender. If you want to transition the ball, you kind of need those players that have got a little bit of pace, line breaking ability, Dane Zorko like, and can really hit a target. Look, he's prone to the odd turnover, but upside there, and his disposal outside of that back 50 is important, as it is important forward half of the ball, but we need to get someone to get it to the forward half of the ball, and he's probably our best distributor in that. So I'd like to see him there, very similar to Dane Zorko in that regard. Luke McDonald, a player that did improve a little bit this year. So 14.1 disposals per game in 2024, 4.5 intercepts, 84.8 disposal efficiency percentage, 3.5 1%ers per game. So this year went up to 15.5. Obviously missed the last few weeks with injury and surgery. 4.15 intercepts per game. So similar, 85.3. Disposal efficiency. So even that went up a little bit, which is really good to see. Only 0.5 it went up, almost as good as Jasmine Ferguson. I thought I had to give her a shout out. And 3.7 1%ers per game. So everything was up in the right trajectory there, which is good. Intercepts were similar, but a player that did improve and probably not having the burden of captaincy and the weight lifted off his shoulders there was a big reason for that. Now, our captain, and I will talk about him, captain this year. I don't know if he'll be next year, but a captain this year, I will talk about him a little bit later. Jai Simpkins. So 21 disposals per game in 2024. 4.1 clearances per game, 3.1 tackles per game, 4.5 score involvements per game. So this year it went up to 22.1. 3.8 clearances per game. So that was down a little bit this year. Tackles per game went up 0.1, so pretty similar. And score involvements went up to 5.4. His last few weeks were really good on a wing. I agree with Rawlings when he said he looked really good on a wing on the outside in those last few weeks. So that probably is his position for the future if he does stay at the club, which looks likely. But we'll have to wait and see what happens there. Next player, so he is a player that did improve this year, despite all the negativity that comes his way. Next player, Darcy Tucker. So he played 23 games in 2024, averaged 17.4 disposals per game. His disposal efficiency wasn't bad, 78.1 and 3 tackles per game, sorry. This year, he only played 7 games, got dropped after the tagging job he did on Connor Rozee, if you call it that, where he didn't touch the ball and still allowed Connor Rozee to do whatever he wanted on the halfback flank. One of the worst tagging jobs I've ever seen. 13.3 disposals per game this year was down from 17.4. 86% disposal efficiency, which is pretty good. Probably, the only real good thing he did, and 1.4 tackles per game this year as well. He didn't improve, and he is 29 years old. I don't know why the club have not delisted him. I still don't know why you had to delist Eddie Ford this early. I would have been, Darcy Tucker should have been the first person named. There's no upside here. And I seriously consider, I think the club is seriously considering that they're going to give him another year. And if that happens, then like that's all you need to know about Brady Rawlings and how out of touch he is. But I'll talk a bit more about him later. Obviously, giving a cheap shot to him. Dylan Stevens, big improver this year. So 16 games played in 2024, 12.8 disposals per game, 263 metres gained, and 2.3 scoring involvements. So he played 22 games this year, 17.5 disposals per game, so that's gone up 5. Metres gained, 284.7, so you'd want to see that go up a little bit, and 3 scoring involvements per game. But a guy that did improve and found some consistency and continuity on that wing for us this year. Zach Fisher, 18 games played, 24.1 disposals per game, 77.8 disposal efficiency, 2.4 score involvements per game that year. So this year it wasn't great. 7 games only played, had a few injuries, soft tissue injuries, 12.7 disposals per game, 73% disposal efficiency, 2.4 score involvements per game. I still think, and I know this is a hot take, but I still think he's the best small forward we have at the club. That's where he played his best football at Carlton. And I still remember that West Coast game where we almost lost. We actually got outplayed in the first 3 quarters, and we're lucky not to be well out of that game. But he actually kicked, I think in the last quarter, kicked 3 or 4, 3 behinds and 1 out of a full. He looked really dangerous. And yeah, I'm surprised they haven't played him there as much. I mean, you've given him a 5-year deal or whatever. I don't know what sort of money he's on, probably 600,000 a year. He's the best small forward I think we have at the club. So, yeah, and he looked good playing as a small forward. So I don't know why they haven't given him more opportunity there. I'm not too sure what's going to happen next year, obviously, with Charlie Spoger coming in. And, yeah, he'd probably have to play half forward, you'd have to think. Then, yeah, it probably puts him on the outer again, which is a little bit bizarre. Anyways, we'll move forward to Riley Hardiman. So, a big improvement. Geez, I'll learn to speak the English language one day. A big improvement. I should say improvement, shouldn't I? A big improvement from 2024 in his rookie year. So that's what you want to see. The first to second year players really improving a lot like this, getting more games into them. He wasn't in a team at the start of the year, controversially, and I'm not too sure. We had to play Darcy Tucker for some reason. But with all injuries, he was always going to get that opportunity, and because we're running out of soldiers. Miller Bergman did his knee. And a number of others had a few injuries. Josh Goda couldn't get his body right, so got his opportunity. Only 3 games played in 2024, 10 disposals per game, 76.7 disposal efficiency, 174.3 metres gained. This year, he played 17 games, 13 disposals per game, 78.7% disposal efficiency, and 310.4 metres gained per game. A booming left foot. I don't know if anyone, I watched him closely a couple times this year, and he's just a bit slow to react when we get the ball. He's got to be, you sort of see the experienced players like Dane Zorko. He's always running from behind, wanting to create and, give a bit of drive from the back line. Even Colin McKercher, he improved a lot with that. I'd like to see Riley Hardiman do that. When Charlie Common gets that intercept, run behind him straight away, because a couple of times he just hesitated. He waited 10, 15 seconds too long. You want to do it straight away because it doesn't give the opposition a chance to set up. If you just wait that 10, 15 seconds, teams can set up just that little bit quicker, and it's a lot harder to find those targets. So he's just got to be a little bit better with that. But the signs are really good. His intercepts were good. And once he got the confidence, after 4 or 5 games, he did start to really run and create. He's got a good left foot. Really excited about his future next year. So he'll definitely be a first team regular. And, showed a lot of leadership in his junior days, was captain of his, I can't remember, was he from Western Australia? He captained them or whoever it was. So, which is really good. So he may be a captain in the future. Will Dawson, another player that showed little signs at game against Sam Darcy. So he only played 3 games in 2024, 5.3 disposals per game, 2.3 intercepts, 4.31%. So he only played 5 games this year, 7 disposals per game, 3.8 intercepts, and 4.41%. So he did improve. We'd like to see him get more games. I think a lot of supporters were a little disappointed that when he had a team. I know his one-on-one percentage losses to his opponent was quite high for his player, but I don't think that's his strength. I think he reads a ball pretty well in the air and can intercept pretty well, playing off his opponent, not drawing the best player. Like Sam Darcy, we had to play him on Sam Darcy because we didn't have anyone else that was tall enough and did a really good job for 3/4. I'd like to see him get consistency and continuity in his role, not, well, let's play him forward this week and next week. All right, we'll put him back in the back line. All right, let's play him forward. Just get him to play in the back line. We want to develop defenders at the end of the day. That's the most important position we need to develop. We don't need any more forwards. Now that we've found Cooper Trenbath, and got Nick Larkey coming back next year, still got Jack Darling. There may be Finbar Malley, there may be Cooper Harvey, Paul Curtis, Cameron Zurhaar. So we don't need to develop any more forwards. We need to develop him as a key defender and find out if he is up to the level. And that's got to be the club's incentive and motivation for him in 2025, 2026 pre-season. Griffin Logue. So he only played 2 games in 2024. 5.2 intercepts, 5.5, 1% disposal efficiency in his career is 78.8. So he did show signs of improvement according to this, like 16 games played, 4.8 intercepts per game, 5.9, 1% is 87.2 disposal efficiency. The problem with him, generally he'll hit targets, but when he makes a mistake, he makes a big mistake with his disposal efficiency and usually costs us a goal. Bit of a whipping boy too. I'm not too sure how seriously he takes his football, to be honest with you. So that's something that he's got to work on. I remember when he first came to the club and I watched him at Arden Street against Richmond in the pre-season. And his first 10 games were quite good till he did his knee. It hasn't been the same player since. But his communication was outstanding. He was always talking to players around him, what to do, where to stand, yelling at LDU to get into space, to protect the space. It was fantastic. And he was one of the best players on that day. It was quite windy that day, but he looked really good. And I'll tell you what, any player, if you want a player to kill a contest that comes in long in the air, he's really good at that. Problem is, he's just not accountable. Jeremy Cameron game against Geelong, there's times there where he just zoned off 10, 15 metres off him. Jeremy Cameron's inside the 50 by himself. The ball's going to go to him. Show him a little bit of respect. And, it was really quite frustrating. He's quite a frustrating player in that regard. So that's something he's got to work on, is being more accountable and, showing leadership in that regard. So, he's got a big year. He needs a big pre-season. I think he's at an important age. 26, 27. Still got a couple of years to run his contract, because right now it feels like he's just cashing in on a Super 8 annuation fund at North Melbourne Footy Club, and with sick of those types of players. Big year coming up for him. Nick Larkey, so in 2024 he kicked 46 goals, 4.3 marks per game, 4.6 scoring involvements per game, and 0.3 goal assists per game. So this year he kicked 41 goals. Obviously missed the last few weeks with a knee injury. Kicked 5 was it 5 1/4, 4 or 5 1/4 against the Bulldogs towards the end of the year when his knee was injured. 4.6 marks per game. So he's pushing up the field a little bit this year. 5.3 scoring involvements per game and 0.6 goal assists per game as well. So that doubled from 2024. So he was improving, and would have kicked 50 plus goals again this year. Only a couple of years ago was all Australian. He generally makes the most of his opportunities. So, and he had other parts to his game this year. He was pushing up the ground a little bit more this year, which opened up the space for other players like Paul Curtis, who's very dangerous inside forward 50, Cameron Zurhaar as well. So I really like his role. That it's not just all inside 450. There are other avenues to go. And when he did miss the last month of the season, and we've always said that when he misses, we're cooked. We can't afford to let him miss. No one else is going to kick a goal. When he did miss the last month of the season, we found a player, Cooper Trenbath. Other players were really stepping up. Paul Curtis was kicking goals, and there was a number of others as well. So which is a really good sign. It will only improve next year. We just got to find a system that suits him, that's going to get the best out of him and the other forwards, which I'll talk more about soon. CCJ, so only 3 games in 2024. Did that Achilles, unfortunately. Yeah, so I think he had 8 hit-outs for the year. And yeah, there was three marks per game. I don't think he kicked a goal as well. And this year, just got the one game in the middle of the year and got injured. So to be honest, he's pretty lucky to get another year. I think it's more just the club invested a lot when they got him, so they don't want to cut their losses just yet. They want to give him another year to see if he has got it, if he can fulfill his potential in a full preseason. Look, the attributes are there. I just don't. I don't know if he wants it bad enough. Maybe with a 1 year contract hanging over his head, I would have let him go. To be honest with you, I see more upside in Finbar Melly at this stage, and I trust Finbar Melly's body to hold up. I don't trust CCJ's to hold up. To be brutally honest. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. So big year coming up for CCJ. The club's giving him another year. I don't think it's that much of a difference if you're going to go. Look, I don't know if Finbar Melly's going to re-sign, but I don't think if they let go of Finbar Melly and re-sign CCJ, I don't think it's that much of a regression or anything like that. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. So next one we'll go to is Tom Powell. He averaged 20.1 disposals per game, 4.2 tackles per game, 4 clearances per game, 4 scoring involvements per game in 2024. This year, he averaged 23 disposals per game, 4.7 tackles per game, 4.2 clearances per game, and 4.6 scoring involvements per game. So he did improve from last year, a little improvement. The problem is the last 3 weeks, I think he only had the last 2 weeks I know he didn't get a CBA. And the third last week, he got, I think he might have only got 3 or 4 or something like that. So it's a sign that the club are moving him out of the midfield. I'm not too sure if that's the right way to go about it. I was surprised, and I haven't heard anything, and I don't think anything's going to happen here, that he didn't ask for a trade or anything like that, because he looks like he's getting phased out of the midfield, and he's just been playing the forward 50. Now, I don't mind him. He's a very classy player. I know Sting or what's his name, the guy on X is probably going to come at me here, sort of saying, well, why are you trying to trade him? I really like Tom Powell, but the problem is I think it's a waste if he's going to play inside the forward 50. I think if Josh Simpkin leaves, you go on a wing, which will be nice, good position, because he has shown signs this year that he can play on the wing, so that will work out well. So I'm a little bit surprised. Another player that's had a contract in 2026, so a big year coming up for him. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with him pre-season, if they're going to play him as that half forward or forward pocket, or if they're going to put him back in the midfield. Very interesting, because each year we seem to get really excited by Tom Powell, and the clubs builds him up each year. They're saying, oh, look at this guy, how good is this bloke? And then all of a sudden, by about round 18, he's playing the forward pocket or sitting on the bench or something like that. So yeah, that's another player that we really need big improvements from in 2025 or 2026, I should say. Paul Curtis, 30 goals in 2024, 1.5 tackles inside 50 per game. This year, I'll talk about that in a second, actually. 0.6 goal assists per game, 4.9 scoring involvements per game in 2024. So this year, he kicked 38 goals, so that was up. 2.8 tackles inside 50 per game. That was the best in the comp by a fair way. 0.7 goal assists per game, that went up, and 5.5 scoring involvements per game. Very dangerous player. I really does his best work inside that forward 50. Very good one-on-one player. And obviously very tough, can bench press a lot, can break tackles. He's a player that could easily kick 45, 50 goals next year. Just to mention that he did get suspended for 3 games, and I think he might have missed another one as well through suspension. So 4 games, he could have kicked 45 goals this year. So yeah, he's a player that he's really taken that next step this year, and hopefully keeps taking steps. Luke Parker, so big improvement this year, where as opposed to he was playing in the forward pocket at the Swans and playing as a forward tagger almost for the majority of 2024, where he averaged 14.1 disposals per game, 66.7 disposal efficiency, 14 goals and 3.9 scoring involvements, whereas this year his disposals went up to 23.3. Disposal efficiency went down a little bit. Goals, he kicked 12, still playing in the midfield, and 5.5 scoring involvements per game. I still worry that they've just absolutely battered his body this year, playing too much midfield minutes. I think he was second in stoppages for North Melbourne this year. So, it was just far too much. And I worry about his body holding up. I think when we recruited, I thought they were recruiting him as a bit of a mentor for the George Wardlaws and LDUs and so forth, just to work with them, not to play a big role in the midfield. That was a worry. I remember, I think it was halfway through the year where we played West Coast, and they sort of phased him out for the first half. And I understood that they had to put him back in the midfield second half because we're getting smashed. And that's a situation where you do that. Like if your midfield's struggling, the young midfield struggling, then all right, we'll put him back in because I don't mind him as a high half, as a half forward, or something to like that. Not playing too much in midfield because we've really battered his body. He played with cracked ribs there for a while, so I worry that about the longevity of his career. Now he's 33, so he's no spring chicken, but. Who am I to judge? I just worry that next year his body's going to be too battered and too smashed from this year that he'll go into next year and he just won't have it anymore. So we'll have to wait and see. Miller Bergman, 3 games played in 2024, 7.3 disposals per game, 16.3 meters per game, and 3 intercepts average 3 intercepts per game. Whereas this year he didn't play a game, did his ACL about halfway through the year, and has been let go, unfortunately, for Miller Bergman. No surprise that he was let go, unfortunately. Jack Darling, so what did he do? So he averaged 1.1 goals per game, 2024 and 2025. Scoring involvements went up from 3.4 to 4. Tackles inside 50 was a little down from 1.4 at West Coast to 0.9, and doubled his goal assists this year from 0.3 to 0.6. So a player that I think adds more value as a leader and as a mentor. He seems to structure that forward line. He does communicate to a lot of forwards, more as a forward 50 coach. And, certainly had some good moments. There was periods, I think it was against Brisbane, where he was out marking Harris injuries. And you see the dominance that guy had in the final series. Was pretty much the most important player for the Lions and one of the most important players in the game in general. And he was out marketing. It was bizarre. It's almost like he turned into Carey for periods of games. And you could sort of see the appeal that he had when he was at his peak, when he was all Australian. You could sort of see those periods this year where, I can see how good he must have been at West Coast, and a big part of their premiership success as well, only 6 years ago. But a player that I expect to get half a year out of next year. You might get 10, 11 games, but you want someone to overtake in his place, whether it's Finbar, Malley, or, you probably have to think that Larkey, Trembath are your 2 big forwards. Whether Finbar Malley could come in, Callum Collins-Jones is at third tall, or maybe we just play the 2 talls and you go a bit smaller with Zerha, Costanti, Curtis, Charlie Spargo, and so forth. So, that's the idea, but I know Clarko seems to love playing his veterans. Anyways, we'll move forward. Will Phillips, so 2024, 11 games played, 14 disposals per game, 5 tackles per game, 2.3 clearances per game. This year, only 7 games played per game. His disposals went up to 14.4. Tackles per game stayed the same, and clearances per game went up to 4.3. So didn't play as many games, but similar to last year. He's a player that his ceiling's not high, but he can play a role for a team. Unfortunately, he's still out of contract. I haven't heard anything about a trade for him, which is a little bit unfortunate. So, hopefully he finds a club because I mean, worst case scenario, he can come back to North for a year and rebuild his value, but he might just be a depth player. So I think West Coast were into him, about halfway through the year. Yeah, at the end of the day, I'm happy to just give him away, but I still like him as a player, and I still think he can find a role for a team as a defensive midfielder. So yeah, I'm sure. I mean, there's clubs out there that don't have any defensive midfielders. West Coast, Essendon, and St Kilda probably. Well, they got Winkhager, so yeah, that probably gets rid of that argument. So, but I'm sure there's a couple of other clubs that he could find and play a role with. So, but like I said, his ceiling isn't that high, and I'm sure he's one of those players that I don't know when the trade period finishes. I don't really care. It's probably next Thursday or something. West Coast say, here's a fourth rounder and or future fourth rounder, and that's pretty much about it. Excuse me. Charlie Comben, 19 games played in 2024, disposal efficiency 83, 1.5 contested marks per game, 1.1 free kicks. I don't know if that's for or against. I'm pretty sure that's for. I know it gives a lot away. So 20 games played this year, which is a good sign. 81.6 disposal efficiency, 1.1 contested marks per game, 0.7 free kicks per game. I've never seen a player that looks so hurt every time he goes out on the football field. He just looks, in so much pain all the time. But look, as long as he gets through each game in that condition, because he does play a pivotal role and he's our number one key defender at the moment, you'd have to think. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but he's a player that did, I feel like, probably stayed where he was. There's a few games here we played him as a forward, and we've got to stop that shit. Just play him as a defender. He can't play forward anymore because there's periods where he barely touched the ball as a forward. When we did try that. Josh Goda, so nothing there. So hopefully a big pre-season. Another player that's out of contract at the end of next year, so he needs a big season. I'm still holding out hope for him. There's a lot of talent there. You look at a player like Josh Weddle from Hawthorn, line breaking ability. He's very similar. I don't know if he's lost a yard of pace. I don't even know if he's still alive, to be honest with you. Maybe it was AI generated when he did play for North in the VFL, because there's no proof that he actually was out there. I've never seen it. So, maybe it was AI generated. Of course, I'm joking. But a player that still has that talent, good long penetrating kick, got line breaking ability, can play up. If you want to see highlights, go back to his first game he's ever played. So that was really good. That was that was the potential he's shown. It's just unfortunate. He did his Achilles in round 1 in 2024 and hasn't been back since. This year he came back, but he had a lot of soft tissue injuries. And Achilles injuries generally are 2-year injuries. So a big 2026 coming up for Josh Goda. Toby Pink, so all I had was see if he could play more than 15 games, and he played 17 this year. So that's really good. Seems to be a player that's playing on the best forward, and a lot of supporters, outside of 1 month period, he's a player that didn't really, it was okay, but there was games where he struggled, I believe, and that's probably putting it gently. So, outside of 1 month period where he didn't concede a goal and was our best defender, he's a player that can hold a place till you find someone better, a placeholder till you find someone better. Jackson Archer, unfortunately, only 3 games this year. I'm going to breeze through this because this has taken a lot longer than I thought it would. I'm not so sure. I am 38 minutes into the podcast, so I said it was only going to be half an hour. I've got a fair bit to go through, so still talking. So Jackson Archer, only 3 games played this year, 15 last year. The disposals were down from 9.9 to 8, 4.7 intercepts per game. In 2024, 3.3 this year, and turnovers 1.1 last year, 1 this year. So players just got to get his body right. Cooper Harvey played the 7 games this year, so that was good. Still out of contract. I don't know what's going on there. Tristan Sherry, similar to last year. So 2024, he averaged 17.9 disposals per game, 34.5 hitouts per game, 7.5 tackles per game, 0.3 goals per game. Whereas this year, 17.2 disposals per game, 35 hitouts, similar to last year, 6.6 tackles per game, so one less tackle per game, and 0.2 goals per game. So similar to last year, very similar player. Finbar Mallee managed to get 7 games into him this year. So that was a big improvement. Certainly shows signs, good set of hands. Kicking can be a bit iffy, but a player that's, he still doesn't have a contract, so it's going to be interesting to see which way they go through there. Eddie Ford, unfortunately, 18 games played per in 2024, 0 games played this year, 0.8 goals per game, 0.7 tackles inside 50, 3.5 score involvements per game in 2024. Callan Dawson, and unfortunately let go to Eddie Ford. All the best to him. Hopefully he finds another club because he certainly deserves it. He's a best 22 player and just didn't get that opportunity. Callan Dawson, so 11 games played in 2024, only the 3 this year. Disposal efficiency was down to 78.3, 82% last year. 2 intercepts per game, down from 3.5 and 5.51%. Was up a little bit this year, so a player that was delisted as well. Certainly had his moments, a handy depth player, but that'll be it for as far as his AFL career goes. You'd have to think. Bryn Teakle, so only 4 games this year as opposed to 11. As soon as he came in the mid-season draft last year, he certainly got a lot of opportunities. But only 4 games this year. I'm not going to go through too much of his stats. I still can't believe that game against who was against Sydney Swans, Brodie Grundy, where I don't know what the hit out count was, but he barely had a hit out. He could not. I've never seen a ruckman dominate a game as much as Brodie Grundy did against Bryn Teakle. And look, at the end of the day, not a player with a high ceiling. He's already 26, so an easy decision by the club. But certainly a player that gave it his all. Had a good set of hands. Cameron Zurhaar, so he kicked 38 goals this year. Went up from 29 in 2024. Disposals went down to 10.6 from 14.1. Goal assists were similar to 2024, and scoring involvements went up a little bit. So he's kicked more goals this year. I'm surprised they don't try him as a bit of a pinch hitter in midfield, but certainly had a good year and certainly found a little bit more consistency. Robert Hansen, so 6 games played in 2024. He played 12 this year. Jesus, he played a lot. 0.7 goals per game in 2024, 0.2 this year. Tackles per game went up from 0.2 to 0.7. Not much improvement. Scoring involvements 2.7 to 2.3. He's got to improve his attitude. That last game in the VFL of the year, I was very critical of him. He did not give it a shit, basically. He did not try that game, and he can sit here and say, and he can defend himself, but his attitude was terrible that game. He bludged and didn't chase, barely gave one effort. And, when we turned it over, he was always by himself because he never ran back to help the defence. So he's a player that if he's going to show that in early rounds next year, then I'm out on. And if he was out of contract, I probably wouldn't have given him one based on that effort. But we'll move forward. So we'll go through. So that was a long process. So we probably had all up. I think we had about 12 players that did improve, like Cameron Zurhaar. I'm not going to count Cooper Harvey, Finbar Mallee, because their bar was pretty low, as well as Jack Darling. But you go to Paul Curtis, a little bit of improvement. Jai Simpkin, Nick Larkey, Riley Hardiman, Dylan Stevens, Luke McDonald, and that's that's probably about it, really. So about 6 or 7 that did improve this year. We'd like to see that to go to about 12. You want to see improvement from George Wardlaw. Love to see Zane Dersma show something next year. Bailey Scott to reinvent himself. Zach Fisher to make that small forward his own. Things like that. Tom Powell to maybe get more midfield minutes or kick goals in that forward 50, really set up a lot of play. But we'll have to wait and see on that one. Well, we'll move forward. So the wins-loss predictions. So I'll go through them as quick as I possibly can. This podcast is taking a bit longer than I thought. So round 1, Bulldogs, we lost I predicted a 6-goal loss, 36 points. We lost by 16. Obviously, that was before Bontempelli. I found out he wasn't playing. Round 2, the Demons. I predicted we'll win by 22. We won by 61, so that was a big plus. Crows, round 3, I predicted a 43-point loss. We lost by 36. Swans, I predicted a loss by 25, lost by 65. Suns, I predicted a win by 13. We lost by 52. Carlton, I predicted a loss in Good Friday by 40 because of the umpiring, and we lost by 82. Port Power, I predicted a loss by 53 in Adelaide, lost by 8 points. Bombers, I predicted a win by 16. We lost by 3. We'll storm at home. Lions, I predicted a loss by 33. We drew, surprisingly. Round 10, I predicted a win against the Tigers by 21. We won by 4. The Pies, I predicted a loss by 11. We lost by 45. Got overrun the last quarter. Eagles, I predicted a win by 14. We won by 10. So pretty good there. Fremantle, lost by 39. We lost by 6. Only a goal. Carlton, I predicted a loss by 8. We won by 11. I thought that's when we would turn it around. Hawthorn, we've got a reality check the next week. I predicted a loss by 25. I lost by 85. Bulldogs, I predicted a loss by 41. We lost by 49. Melbourne, I predicted a loss of 3. We lost by 36. Swans, I predicted a loss of 46. We lost by 31. Geelong, I predicted a loss by 33. We lost by 101. Geelong, I predicted a loss by 12. We lost by 9. Giants, I predicted a loss by 30. We lost by 54. Richmond, I predicted a win by 33. Won by 48. And Crows, I predicted a loss of 35. We lost by 13. So not too bad in the end. So each week, I also went through Defensive Player of the Week, and I didn't do it I didn't mention it each week, but I went through each round. I'll give you the winner. I had Tristan Xerri as the winner. Second, Luke Parker, and third, Jacob Constanti. So that were the top 3. I might do that again next year, just the Defensive Player of the Week. I don't know if I'll bring in the whole voting system. Jesus, talk about the voting system. Best and fairest one's a bit strange. I've already gone through that. So I predicted a win-loss of 6 wins, and we won 5.5. So I wasn't too far. My preseason predictions were pretty good. All right, so let's go through. I'll go through team statistics now. So I'll have a look at that when I get it up, if I can find it. So, all right, disposals. So where will we as far as disposals go on the ladder? So we're right in the middle, 357.8 disposals per game. So right in the middle. So we get a fair share of the ball. Goals per game. So we average 78 points per game. We're 12th in the competition. The problem was the points against 102 points per game. I think it was close to 103. So we're second last on the ladder. So 12th as far as points scored, and 17th as far as conceding. So that's a fair chunk of discrepancy. I think our percentage was 76. So that was an improvement from the year before. Percentage, but we've got to find an identity. Where are we? Are we an offensive team? Because if we're an offensive team, we've got to try and get to the top 6 or top 5 or 6 scoring. Are we a defensive team? Because there were periods where we're trying to be a defensive team, but do you want to be a defensive team and try and get into that top 10 next year? I'm not too sure. So that's what we've got to find out, and that's what I'm certainly hoping for next year. So goal assists per game. So 11th on the ladder there. So inside 50s per game. This is where it's at. Wolves 16th, Eagles 17th, Tigers 18th. We've got to get the ball in at forward half. We've got to play a forward half game. You look at the bottom teams, Bombers, 4th last, not enough inside 50s per game. You look at the top teams, the Lions, get the ball inside forward 50, their transition. Bulldogs, Cats, Suns, all the top teams get the ball inside forward 50. So behinds, we kick the least amount of behinds. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. We average 8.8, so 56 behinds per game. So we're one of the more accurate teams in the competition. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, that we're making the most of our opportunities, or we're making the most of our opportunities and we're lucky to be where we're at, and we're lucky to win a couple of games. Not sure. So we'll see what happens next year. So tackles will 12th on the ladder in that. Hitouts, 13th. A bit surprising, but head has to advantage are a little bit different. Free kicks 4. So we're 14th on the ladder. Free kicks against number 1. So we can see the most free kicks in the game. Up on shit. Anyway, so yeah, that means nothing. Clearances per game. Well, we changed midfield coaches. I don't think the midfield is our problem. Clearances per game. We were 3rd on the ladder. So go to clangers per game, 12th on the ladder. So which is not bad. The higher, the worse. So we're one of the best as far as clangers go. Rebound 50s. So we're 7th in the competition for rebound 50s, but we're one of the worst teams for inside 50s. So that's got to be a focus as well. How we transition that ball. I sort of mentioned before, Riley Hardiman has got to be one of those players. Colin McKercher has got to be one of those players. So yeah, that's where we're really going to improve that synergy. Whether it's synergy or just having a system that's better, which might be the big thing, then we've got to work that out. Clark over the coach stuff, we've got to work something out there. Contested possessions per game. So we're 12th in that, 8th in uncontested possessions per game. Effective disposals, so 7th on the ladders, which is pretty good. Disposal efficiency, so we're one of the best teams. We're 2nd on the ladder with disposal efficiency. You wouldn't think that. A lot of people whinge about our skills, but we're generally pretty good. But we're also a team that chipped around too much as well, sideways. Contested marks per game. So we're 12th on the ladder with that. Marks inside 50 per game, we're 14th. So that's something we've got to be better at. And that, like I sort of mentioned, we're not getting the ball inside 50. So how are we going to take marks inside 50? 1%ers, we're 15th in the competition for that. What's this one? Bounces per game. So 7th. I think Colin McKercher does all the bouncing. And so we're 7th on the table in that. Clearances per game. So 3rd on the ladder. And centre clearances per game, 3rd on the ladder. What's this one? Stoppage clearances, 2nd on the ladder. So it's a bit strange. Like, nothing wrong with our midfield. It's how we get it. It's probably how we get it out of there. But the midfield was generally quite good. So a bit strange that you're changing coaches, Lee Adams, when it doesn't seem to be that much of a focus, that inside, like the midfield area of the game. So turnovers per game. Well, team that was 15th for turnovers in game, so that's good. We didn't turn it over as much. Intercepts per game, 18th in the competition, and a fair way. So we don't intercept the ball, which is a big part of AFL football these days and how teams score. So you look at the Crows, the Hawks, the Magpies, great intercept teams, and they are able to transition that ball from their defensive 50. And that's something we've really got to work on, the intercepts per game. So, yeah, that's something that the club have really got to work on this year, and tackles inside 50. So this was a big improvement. We lost by a fair way last year. This year we averaged 10.7 tackles inside 50 per game. So that's really good. So areas that we've got to improve on. We've got to improve on intercepts. Meters gained, I didn't even go through that. I think we're one of the worst teams for meters gained in the competition. We were the worst team for meters gained in the competition this year. So intercepts and meters gained. So when we do get the ball, we're going sideways, we're going backwards. We're not being proactive in our approach, and that's something we've really got to work on. We can't just rely on Harry Sheezel. And, the last couple of weeks of the season, I know we had good performances against Richmond and Adelaide, but that was the back of clearance work, and it's not sustainable. It's not a sustainable method that you're always going to beat teams by 20 clearances per game and get your scores from that. It's just not a sustainable method. It works for patches, like we've seen it in Melbourne round 2, that last quarter. We've seen it in Richmond in round 3, in the third quarter, in the second last round, and we still lost the game against the Crows, even though we dominated clearances, which is saying something. So we've just got to come up with a method about that. All right, the new recruit. Let's talk about some new recruits before I let you go. We've only got one to talk about, and that's Charlie Spargo. So as you probably know, I'm not high on this. I'm picking up this guy. 2023, yeah, I would have definitely looked at him. And I think we did look at him as far as the trade goes, but he said no at the time, probably for good reason, because Melbourne was still going pretty well, probably still in the premiership window. So I'm going to compare his 2025 to Jake Constanti in 2025. So he played 10 games. Jake Constanti played every game this year. Disposals per game, 9.6 to 9.1. And I know people are going to say, Dean, he was injured. He's got a lot of injuries. That's probably one of the reasons why I didn't want to pick him up. We don't need players that have had soft tissue and injuries in the last couple of years. Even now, he's got a shoulder issue. So I know a lot of people are going to come at me with that. But he still played 10 games for Melbourne this year. Didn't do much. Kicked one goal. So for a small forward, I know he says, I'm not a goal kicker. I'm not a goal kicking small forward. Well, it's going to have to be your role. It was interesting, his interview, which I'll talk about in a minute. 2.6 tackles per game. Constanti averaged 3.4. He averaged half a goal a game, Constanti, in his games. Inside 50s, 2.4, Charlie Spargo. So he can push up the ground. Constanti only 1.5. Goal assists per game, 0.7 to 0.4. Free kicks for disposal efficiency, 67.7. Constanti was 57.1. Yeah. I mean, very similar players. Scoring involvements were very similar, 3.2 to 3. I'm just not high on this recruit. I'm going to go to Eddie Ford. Look at Eddie Ford's 2024 year. So disposal efficiency, 73.8. That's better than Charlie Spargo. And we delisted Eddie Ford. And I know you're going to say, well, they're different types of players, Dean. Charlie Spargo's a defensive player. But, I mean, you still got to kick goals as a small forward. What wins games? You kick goals. Goal assists, 0.3 per game. Where's Charlie Spargo? Goal assists. Of course, I can't find it when I'm live on the air, but it wasn't much. I think it was 0.4 or something like that. So, hang on, I will find it in a minute. This is great live podcasting, by the way. So, goal assist 0.4. It's the same as Eddie Ford in 2024. Eddie Ford, 11.1 4 disposals per game. Yep, a lot more than Charlie Spargo, who averaged 9. Inside 50s, 1.1. Everything was more than Charlie Spargo. And, I know they talk about this. He is a defensive player. I just don't see it. He only averaged 2.6 tackles per game this year, which is a career high. His 2021 year. All right, let's go to his premiership year when he was at his peak, Charlie Spargo. So 11.5 disposals per game, 3.4 tackles per game, kicked 18 goals in 25 games. Not a great return. He's not a great. He's kicked 64 goals, 50 in his career, so he's not great in front of the sticks. Inside 50s per game, 2.2. What else? And I'll move forward to the advanced stats. Disposal efficiency 70.7, 4.4 scoring involvements per game in 2021. So, look, I think he's a player that excels if he's got good players around him. If he's in a good team, he can play a role. That's what I'm saying. He's going to be an average team. I think he's going to get found out. He's not quick. I don't know what Brady Rawlings will come out saying. He's got good pace. Probably says something about Brady Rawlings. But I'll talk about him more in a second. So I'm not too excited. He can play a role. He will get his opportunities because we did recruit him. So generally speaking, when we recruit someone, they're going to get games given to them. So he's not a player, put it this way, I would have given a 3-year deal to for 500 or maybe over 500,000 a year. That seems excessive for a player of that quality. So, just be mindful of that. Look, I hope I'm wrong. I hope in 6 months' time or 12 months' time, people come at me on X and say, Dean, you're a dickhead. See, we knew we got Charlie Spargo. He kicked 35 goals this year and, 24 goal assists, but I just don't see it. To be honest with you, I would have rather kept Eddie Ford If we let go of Cooper Harvey and to keep Charlie Spargo, I'll be very, very disappointed. There's more upside in Cooper Harvey. I know Cooper Harvey's not a defensive player, but he's a very proactive player as well. And at the end of the day, I'd rather a proactive player that kicks goals. And I listened to Charlie Spargo's interviews, and he said, I want a bit more freedom. He talked about freedom. But I think your role is very strict, and I think the D's got the best out of you. That you're a defensive player, and that's what you've got to be. I don't. There's not much offensive upside with you. So he goes, my best work is done kicking it inside 50. Well, you're going to have to get the ball 15, 20 times per game if you want to do that. I just don't see it. So I could be wrong, but I don't know. So we'll have to wait and see on Charlie Spargo. And you go on Melbourne forums, and they're quite happy to let him go. A lot of them just did not rate him. He was a bit of a whipping boy from the Demons, and he probably will be at North. Nothing against him. Full credit to him getting a 3-year contract. Well done to his manager. Full credit to his manager. He's somehow finagled a 3-year deal out of a player that's it's been injured for the last 2 years. Yeah, no, amazing effort. I don't think there would have been too many other clubs interested in him. And I think the Demons might have given him 1 year. I know they talked about, they offered him 2 years, but I think that's his manager talking just to get his best deal. Anyways, so I want to talk about Jai Simpkin and his future. Now, we're asking for a first rounder. For him, apparently a good first rounder, not the one Collins got, and we would be happy to pay a little bit of a salary. I did message Mark McGowan on X, just a couple of exchanges there, and he said North aren't. He said the Pies are very keen, but we are not keen at all. So I'm not too sure what it will take for North to consider it seriously. Maybe it's got to come from Jai Simpkin, who's overseas at the moment on holiday with his fairly new girlfriend, only a few months together at the moment. So it's a bit strange that whole situation. He doesn't. I don't know. There seems to be a bit of a disconnect with him and the club and the players at the moment. So because in previous years he has generally holidayed with his teammates, whereas this year he's just he's a bit lovey-dovey with this girl. I'm not too sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But, anyways, that's neither here or there. Yeah, I'm not too sure. Unless something comes from him where he says, I want to get to the Pies, then I don't think anything's going to happen there. And, look, Brady Rawlings and Alistair Clarkson, if you get rid of Simpkin, it's going to make your team worse. And their jobs for next year, if you don't show signs, like the 7th year in, Jesus, and you build a list, then your job's on the line. So they're not going to look for anything. You're not going to get any players. You're not going to get anyone decent. They're not prepared to do that, which is fair enough. You'd have to get maybe 1 or 2 fringe players, and hopefully they can pay off a fair bit of his contract. But I don't see that happening. And look, he was quite good on the wing. So I can't see it happening, to be honest with you, unless something dramatically changes early next week. But we'll see what happens. And people have got to get out of their head that the Pies aren't going to give up anyone decent. And no other team is interested in him, as far as we know, because, look, he's okay, but he's overvalued for what we paid for him. We've paid him too much. We'll have to wait and see, and I'll probably talk more about that with someone early next week. We'll go through some news on that as well. Zane Duursma doesn't look well. It's not going to happen. I think they might have asked a question, and we would have, sort of said, well, this is where we rate him, whereas Essendon probably don't rate him that high, which is fair enough. And they've sort of said, we'll just wait 12 months. He's out of contract. He's not going to sign anything, and then we'll get him then. So it makes perfect sense. For the club to wait there. Big year coming up for him. I think it's going to happen eventually. I think he's going to leave, but only because we've got too many of the same player. So, I mean, hopefully he does turn into Jack Gunston. I just don't know if he's going to get that opportunity. So, especially playing inside the 450, and I think that's where he does his best work. Brady Rawlings. Geez, is there a guy, like, he had a 3-minute interview with Cal Toomey the other day, and I started yawning because his body language and voice were just flat, and there's nothing there. I mean, if you suffer from insomnia, just listen to Brady Rawlings talk, and I'm sure he'll cure it. I remember one time I was struggling to sleep, and I listened to Matt McConaughey tell a story and fell asleep pretty quickly. I think Rawlings would do the same for a lot of people. So he just likes... It's just not inspiring when every time he talks, like, he's just like really flat. He sort of talks, we'll just keep Jai Simpkin for, he's a contracted player, so we're not going to look to move him. The same with Zane Tersma. It's like there's nothing, there's no energy. Come on, Brady, give us something. Like, I've been very critical of him. It's strange he's asking for a high first rounder from Jai Simpkin when this dickhead last year decided to trade the first rounder from, well, it wasn't even first round, it was basically the middle second round. Our pick this year from Richmond has gone to the middle second round already. We haven't even finished compensation picks and academy picks and all that. So it's going to go to the 30s, which we always knew was going to happen. So you had to pick first rounder last year. Now you want, because and the reason was last year, it's not a strong draft this year, it's highly compromised. So we don't really want one. So if you don't want one, why are you asking for one now? Yeah, he's so out of touch, this guy. He really is. But look, I could go on a rant about Brady Rawlings. And look, he certainly has his detractors. He certainly has people that back him in as well. So look, full credit to them if they want to back in Rawlings. But I certainly won't be doing that. Anyways, that's it for me today. So I've gone for well over an hour. I do apologise. Most of you people are probably, fallen asleep listening to me. So if you have kept listening, maybe I'll use a code word at the end and you can tell me the code word. The code word is Phoenix Spicer. Yeah, so just say that in the comments or whatever you want to do. And we'll go from there. I'll be back probably either Sunday, Monday. We'll go through the women's program and probably go through another wing there. I was supposed to get an AFLW guest during the week, but unfortunately that hasn't happened. A few things happened there. So, that's just the way it goes. But, I thought I'll do a podcast today. Anyways, look out for that, AFLW. I'll have my usual guests on, Claire and whoever else I can get, and then I'll talk a bit more about the men's next week. So a lot more content coming up. Until then, that's it from me. Bye for now, and go Roos.